Good. Excellent. 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 Perfect.
Great to meet you. Where are you located?
I'm in right outside of Tampa in the St. Pete area.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful down there. Yeah, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. So,
Well, hey, it's a great place, though. Nonetheless, great place.
yeah, my son actually, I was thinking about Tampa this morning. He's a big football fan, and Mike Evans gave a pair of gloves to a kid, and he was like, "I want to meet Mike Evans one day." And I was walking to the car, and I was like, "When are we going to be in Tampa?"
There you go.
It was
There you
right
go.
there. Well, hey man, thank you for taking a minute out. And I want to begin the conversation with the last 3 years, surviving and getting through COVID. How did you get through it? And how did it change you?
Okay. Yeah. So, great question. In 2020, obviously the world kind of shut down, and I had for 2 years prior to that had it started investing in online, taking my business online, and I was met with a lot of resistance. I have we'll say a medical health coaching organization that helps walk people through conditions or weight loss or different things like that, and other online health businesses. And moving into the online space, they were trying to tell me that I couldn't do that, that there was a gray to moving services like that online, and everyone was saying how we couldn't do it. And so in 2020, while my obviously family life and personal life, and social life, and the life in the city that I was in was kind of shutting down, the professional life was taking off, because everybody started looking for virtual care services. So it was this really weird dichotomy of being overworked and stressed about the world, but also trying to manage staff, because at first we weren't sure, and I kept everybody on staff. I wasn't going to let anyone off, lay anyone off, or any of that. And so making that decision to push through early on when we didn't know what COVID was, and keep everybody and retain everyone was propelled my business. It tripled that year. So there was a really weird relationship with it. Obviously, personally for me, I have a pretty strong process and lifestyle, the way I eat, the way I live my life, and I try to maintain that through the process. But I'll tell you that it was a really obviously challenging and growing experience. After that, I said, I'm gonna move. It's like life is short. You never know what's gonna happen, and it's like, why not take risks? And
Yeah.
I took risks in my business. I took risks where I moved, so in a very interesting way, I'm grateful for the challenge that it was. I'm not grateful for the lives that were lost and all of those things, of course, but I am, in retrospect, grateful for some of the change that it created in me.
So where'd you move from?
I moved from Cincinnati, Ohio,
Okay.
out to Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
So yes, so now we're outside, like I said, just outside of Tampa, in a place called St. Pete. St. Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and Cincinnati's like Kansas City, Midwest. You got the cold. You probably don't miss any of that. It's probably very welcome to geographically migrate to a new place.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a sports fan?
I am.
So I don't know why the mayor did that last year, why they picked a fight with Kansas City in Cincinnati. It was the biggest mistake in the world.
Yes. Yes, it definitely was.
Man.
We don't learn sometimes.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, one of those things. I'm originally from Chicago, so
Okay.
the feeling's the same. It's
Right.
like the lovable losers. But there's a camaraderie around that you can, and it bonds everybody, because it's like you pick the team because you love them. It's not because they win.
Yeah. So, are you a Cubs fan?
I am a Cubs fan.
My son also said that this morning. His stepdad's a big Cubs fan. So this morning, and he's been saying it for the last 2 days, he said, I really want the Cubs to go to the World Series this year. And I'm like, when postseason begins, anything can happen. These kids could totally take off.
They could. That's the funny thing about baseball too, right?
Yeah.
and you just never know.
Never
And the
know.
Cubs chose, as the deadline started to approach, they went instead of selling out, and
Yeah.
I was proud of them for that,
Yeah.
and it shows a distinct, I think, message that what this organization now is about, and so I like that move. Yeah, it was good, and then so far it's paying off.
Yeah, it is. And anybody but Houston. In fact, Houston was in Kansas City this weekend, and I've never seen him live.
Yeah,
Altuve is crazy, man. He's just this little guy, but man, he's all over and I didn't realize how much he talks the whole time he was out there. He's talking to the umpire, he's talking to people, talking to himself, like constantly that mouth is moving, which is probably a part of his strategy.
yeah, yeah. I've watched a few games. That does seem to be the strategy.
Yeah. So let's get to the essence of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. One of the kids looks up and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you
Yeah.
answer that child?
I help people achieve their potential through lifestyle, and nutritional change. We'll say it that way. I think
Okay.
that if you're talking it, so I have founded a network of organizations that work on different aspects of health. I created a method in my journey. I was kind of going back. From 9 years old, I was a very sick kid, and we traveled around the country in many ways looking for solutions to my illness. We did not find many solutions in the medical system itself. We kind of were let down. Subsequently, found it through healthy lifestyle therapy, other things that ended up working, and then consequently got sick again in my late teens, actually with drug addiction, believe it or not, battle drug addiction. And through the journey of that and the journey of my childhood illness, I discovered a whole nother, that there was I don't think a lot of people know that it's like there's all kinds of healing modalities outside the conventional go to my doctor and say I have symptoms. And the problem with that world is it's not very organized. It's not marketed well, and it leads to a lot of confusion about where to go. And then you're kind of stuck trying a lot of different things, going to different types of practitioners, whether you go to a chiropractor, or you go to a other like a naturopath, or you go to whatever. And it's a very confusing world, and most people get lost. There's a lot of jokers in that world too.
Yeah.
And so the challenge always was finding what was right for me amidst all the information, all the confusion, and finding good practitioners that were great at their craft. In that process, though, I made many discoveries. It grew me up it groomed me to be a healer myself, because I had to learn from me, and through that process, I was able to develop a method. And so through fitness, nutrition, the right holistic supplementation, the right therapy services, and the right practitioners behind me, I made full recoveries. And I then took that and got into the health field myself, just starting as a personal trainer, but I included a lot of the things that I had learned. And I got picked up by a global medical health organization called Metagenics, and I got to train under some of the best doctors in the world, and I learned about something called functional medicine. Functional medicine, to just so people understand, if I go to an endocrinologist, I'm looking at the endocrine system. So that's one system. I might have a myriad of symptoms. So I might have fatigue, maybe I have acne, hair shedding, who knows? I'm gaining weight, But if I go to an endocrinologist, they're only going to look at the endocrine system. However, the body has 11 systems. And when you have a chronic issue, meaning something that goes longer than 6 months, then what we know is 95% of those people have multiple systems that are operating together in some form of dysfunction that creates a symptom that you feel.
Yeah.
So it's a dysfunction of multiple systems. But we operate in a society, in a Western medical health system, an allopathic system that only looks at one system at a time to divide the body up. And that's why we have more doctors, more pills, more science, but we're more sick than ever.
Yeah.
As a society and a culture. Because the way that we look at the body, we want to slice it up all nice and neat into its own islands, but that's not how the body works. So it's fundamentally opposed to healing. Now, I love great doctors, there's great medicine. If you have a gunshot wound, don't come to me. That's one system. Like what's hit you, or cannonball multiple systems if it hits multiple systems. But cancer can be very targeted. There are things that Western medicine, I think, does a great job with. Don't get me wrong. But most of the things that people suffer from chronically on a day-to-day basis are called lifestyle-related conditions. And if we don't change what we're doing as a society, by 2030, every global health organization agrees. By 2030, that's just that's 6 years almost now, 6.5 or so. 7 out of 10 people that you know will have a major lifestyle disease, something that hampers their life, takes their vitality, takes joy away, puts them on a bunch of pills, makes them dependent on the medical system. That's the world we're looking at, this very Orwellian kind of society where we're kind of stuck, giving the power back to the medical system because we can't stay healthy ourselves.
Yeah.
We're looking at it. It's the crisis and the pandemic of our time.
Yeah.
And so what happened to me in that journey, and then going off and training under all these doctors, and then becoming what's called a consultant and going into networks and doctors' offices, helping them change their services, going to cash pay, holistic services, functional health services, start incorporating other systems of the body into what they do, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I had a crash course over 7 years of every type of modality, how they treat, how they look at the body. And then one day I was kind of called by God, it was calling for me that I wasn't going to fix it from the inside, and that I needed to jump out and take everything that I learned and put it into a process and try to help people on the ground floor. I started that literally 10 years ago today. That's when Nutrition Dynamic was born, and 4 clients in the back of a chiropractic office. And now today it is the largest medical fit health coaching company, one-on-one company in the United States.
Wow.
It then bore about 7 other companies that all are in the same fight, which is to fight lifestyle disease. You said talk to the 3rd grader. That 3rd grader doesn't know it, but it'll be the first time in history that that generation, the generation prior, the median age will not outlive the parents.
Wow.
Right? So we've gotten past medicine in terms of number of pills and how long I can keep you alive versus how sick we're getting has reached its tipping point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's my mission in life. And now I've got 150 different coaches and practitioners, and we all provide different virtual health services in what's called the Vital Network. We provide alternative care, which it's not really alternative anymore. People are starting to want something different. We just call it the new care system.
Sure. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And we can help people virtually anywhere in the world from home. And that's kind of the big mission. On the surface, you could just say think of it like you get a coach with a doctor and they walk you back to health.
Yeah.
It's
That's
very
wonderful.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you want to be in the 3rd grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
3rd grade, I wanted to be a basketball player.
Okay.
I'm 5'11" on a good day.
Yeah.
So that kind of went away, but I love sports. I was a big sports kid,
Yeah.
on every sport.
Yeah.
And, I had a lot of knee injuries, so it took me out of
Yeah.
later year high school and college athletics. And I'm grateful that it did, because I can be good at building businesses and healing people my whole life.
Yeah.
You can only be good at sports for so many years.
Well said. Who's been a hero for you in your life?
Well, I guess my first Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was like, I got to grow up watching him, and
Yeah.
I'll say this: Michael Jordan is a great man. I don't know if he was the role model that I needed, but he was a great man.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference between great men and good men. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just going to say he's great.
Yeah.
I learned that there's a difference later. Then after that, there have been individuals of greatness that I really got into public speakers that really turned their lives around. There's been a whole slew of them, but Jim Brown, and actually, believe it or not, Steve Harvey. If you know his story,
Yeah.
Steve Harvey's story is incredible.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, my number one hero when I got into health is Florence Nightingale. And people go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Florence Nightingale is the original G of entrepreneurship in the health field. She founded the best technology to ever happen in health, which was modern nursing and dietetics. And she did it in like 1880, when no one wanted to hear a woman's opinion. There was no place for a woman in the workplace. There wasn't even a name for nursing. She created it.
Yeah.
She created the first nurse in the system and the process, and now it's the greatest technology, because there's no service delivered in health anywhere in the world that isn't delivered by a nurse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I use that same spirit in me today, because I believe where things are going is very soon, Joe, probably in the next decade, and you'll remember this video, you'll have it saved and clipped somewhere. Modern nursing is going to go away to a certain degree, and it's going to make way for the modern health coach or medical coach, where there's nothing that you do that doesn't come with a coach to make sure that you do it correctly.
Yeah.
Because that's the human element of care that we're missing, right? And I think you're going to, Cleveland Clinic, all the market forces, people don't realize it yet. They may not even know what a coach is, or a health coach, or what does that have to do with medicine at all. They don't understand that yet. But in about 10 years, they're like, "Oh, you didn't get a call from your coach when you left the doctor's office," or because everything's turning into AI. You're going to plug your symptoms in. AI is going to tell you either need to go to the doctor, or here's the pills, and then Amazon's going to drop them off. You'll have that side of medicine, and then you'll have the side where it's individualized care and it's delivered with some form of coaching. Yeah.
So what's been your best success story so far? One that always puts a smile on your face?
Boy, there's been a lot. I've worked with over 31,000 people in my career on all kinds of different conditions. The crazy thing is, you would think with just using supplementation, nutrition, mental health and wellness therapies, you would think that you could only do so much, right? But my discoveries over time have shown me that you're unlimited. We've had, I'll give you one. Her name was Mary, and Mary came to us 2 weeks before she was supposed to have a liver transplant. She had autoimmune liver hepatitis. She had PSC, and she had a whole host of other basically autoimmune liver conditions. Okay, and they said there's no way you can keep your liver. She came to us for 3 weeks, and I said, have them hold off an extra 3 weeks for me. Give me about 6 to 8 weeks. In that time, we were able to reduce her liver scores, all liver scores, almost over 50%. We were able to save her liver, and she now has living fine, generally pretty healthy with a full intact liver.
Wow.
With so many different autoimmune conditions that were threatening her life. That's a pretty cool one. All the fertility stories, 17 years of infertility and then having kids. And, you know, there was one scleroderma. Scleroderma is a very nasty autoimmune disease where it hardens your skin into scales. And I remember this woman thinking that in a few years, their doctor told her that you could die from that condition. And the one thing that she loved to do, her name was Barb, the one thing she loved to do was knit. And it had gotten bad enough where she couldn't knit anymore. And we worked with her for about 6 months. And I remember I'm walking through the office back and forth when we had an in-person location, walking back and forth in the office. And I'm busy and I'm not paying attention and I'm trying to get through my day. And Tanisha, my assistant, kept trying to poke my shoulder and poke my shoulder. And finally she pinched me. And she said, "Did you see who's out in the lobby?" No. Barb had been out there in the lobby the whole time for the last hour, just knitting, waiting for me to see it. And it was one of those moments, you know, because it was just so important to her. And so stuff like that, right, is what drives me. Because if we stay just within the confines of standard Western medicine, millions of people are going to be left with lives that are stolen of vitality, of joy, of health, and it should be a birthright. And unfortunately, it's not. And so that's what our mission is with Nutrition Dynamic, the main coaching company, and the rest of the Vital Enterprises, from our supplement company, New Ethics, to our medical clinics, Vital Medical. Yeah.
So as the leader of this organization and everybody that you're helping, you're in charge. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you ultimately run it. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am essentially, every day I wake up as at a base norm where I'll say my subconscious mind, where I'm still that, for at least an hour in the morning, I'm still that 15-year-old boy who feels lost, misheard, misunderstood, and not enough. And from that place, I get my humility, and then I get my confidence from God, and I set out to rectify that feeling by helping others. And that's about as honest as an answer as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right. But that keeps me humble. And so I've learned to love that a little bit, just not lean into it, you know, when times are hard, because everybody still does expect you, again, the staff and everything that we do, and as big as it's gotten, you can tend to look larger than life. Like you don't do anything wrong. And I make sure to get rid of that pretense or connotation right away, because you'll never live up to that. At the end of the day, I remember what it was like when nobody believed me and I couldn't get well. I start with that individual, and then from the confidence of God, I go out and I serve, you know, and that goes away. And I can assume the position that I believe that I was put on earth to do, which is to lead others, to help others, and grow and give, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the best way. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've done a wonderful way of describing how you deliver your services and kind of how the medical industry works. So anyone out there that's listening that wants to hire you, learn more about you, your companies, where can they go?
Yeah, what would be easy is you go to vincepitstick.com. But it's Pit and Stick. You know, there's a funny story. It's a German last name, but it's an Australian deodorant. So because they changed it at Ellis Island when we came across. I'm like third generation, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like Italian German, or Italian German kind of like, and anyway, but they can go there. Nutrition Dynamic, singular not plural.com is a great place to get a lot of resources and stuff like that. And if they just want to learn about, hey, is there another option? Do I have to take these pills?
Yeah.
Do I have to see this doctor? Could there be something else to help me with the way I feel? I don't feel right, and nobody can tell me why. Or or I'm getting older. Is this just age, or could I be better?
Right.
I can answer all of those questions in ways that people have no idea with my 18 years of traveling the world and figuring out what's really what. And you can learn about a lot of that information because I deliver it freely, a lot of it, on my Instagram, which is Vince_Pitstick. We do live trainings on there all the time. There's videos, education. We got so much because we're trying to get the word out. Only about 22% of people know anything about alternative functional medicine. They don't know anything about health coaching or alternative services online. So the coming out party is we thought COVID was it. We know it's coming, and so we just want people to be aware. Like you're not stuck going to the same doctor and doing the same circles. You know?
Yeah. Vince, you've done a wonderful turn of explaining everything and really illuminating a lot of things. This has been great.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.